embarrassing. Just hold on a second. All right, I'm out again. Wait, what? Oh, right, my mask. Right, hold on a second. Hard to breathe in that thing. All right. Sorry about that. A little embarrassing. I was playing with my Legos when I looked up and I saw you. Welcome back. And last week when I saw you, we were looking at the mountains and we were looking at the land and the rivers and the oceans and everything that was around it. We were looking at the provinces, the population, all kinds of information that we need to know to help us better understand the history of China. We want to know these things because why did people do the things that they did? A lot of times we find out it's because of where they live and the land that they lived on. So we want to know the geography of the place we're studying. So today we're going to jump right back in and put on our sleuth hats, and we're going to take a look at the Chinese history. And we're back. Hello there. Today we're going to study the timeline of China in the Middle Ages. Now again, I like to call it the Middle Ages because it's squished between the ancient times and the modern day times. I do not like to call it the Dark Ages. I don't like to call it the Dark Ages because it wasn't the Dark Ages. Well, maybe for Europe it was the Dark Ages because they were dealing with the fallout of the collapse of the Roman Empire, which, yeah, that led to a lot of bad things that we've been looking at. No, this in China was the Golden Age. Yes, the Golden Age in China. Why, Matt? Why are you calling it the Golden Age? That is a good question, and let me answer that question for you. I like to call it the Golden Age, and well, most historians call it the Golden Age too. I guess I'm a historian then because I call it the Golden Age. Anyway, that's besides the point. More importantly, this was the age of discovery. A lot was going on in China right there. Poetry and literature was encouraged. In fact, if you wanted to be anybody, if you wanted to be the hip new YouTube star, well, they didn't have that back then, but they did have poetry. And if you wanted to be anybody, you had to know poetry. You had to study poetry. You'd sit in the courtyards and recite poetry and impress all kinds of people. That was the kind of place it was. No. Okay, anyway, what else was going on, Matt? What else was going on in this golden age of China? Well, let me tell you. The Tang Dynasty. And I already told you that the Tang Dynasty came into being, right? Let me get into the field of vision here. Tang Dynasty rose, and the Tang Dynasty loved Confucianism, and they became scholars. And learning, I already said this, learning was so high priority, and that's why the poetry was so important to the people of China at this time. They established universal law. So at a time when everyone was kind of doing their own thing, the Tang Dynasty was able to bring everyone in and establish a universal law using Confucianism. All right, Golden Age. Why was it Golden Age? Lots of inventions going on at this time. We have the invention of the stern post rudder. So basically you can steer your ship with a post that comes up from the rudder in the back, and you can now give yourself a little bit more direction and a little bit more control of where you're going, which is going to be important in like 600 years. It was big. It was humongous. It was large. It was so big that, well, you can see the picture of him standing on top of it. That's quite the large clock, I would say. All right, next we're moving on to 800 CE. What happened in 800? Oh, yeah. There was chemistry back then, and there were chemists. chemists were actually working on a formula to create gunpowder. And what they put it in? Matt's favorite thing to do on a nice summer evening? Fireworks. Yes, fireworks. Love them. They're so much fun. But you have to be careful. Always want to be careful. All right, moving on. In this time, I said that literature was important. So if literature is important, we probably want to get books in people's hands. How are we going to get books in people's hands? We're going to have to make a lot of books. How are we going to mass produce books, Matt? Oh, I know. We need to print them. So it wasn't quite the printing press, like which came about much later, but this was taking a block of wood, carving out some characters, slapping some ink on it, and there you go. Stamping it onto a piece of paper, and you just keep doing that, and you can mass produce books. So block printing came about in 868. 868. I have to keep saying 868 CE. All right, moving on. 900s. What's going on in the 900s? Oh, unfortunately, the Song dynasty fell. The Shang dynasty fell, but the Tang dynasty fell because a group of Turks came in and drove Tang dynasty out. However, no fear. A couple of decades later, the Song dynasty. So I got that. Did you hear me? I kind of got that kind of mixed up back there. So the Song dynasty. So as you can see, they opened the first public school. Sorry, kids. They had to go to school. But hey, it was a lot of fun. And you shouldn't feel bad about that because school is an opportunity to discover and to learn. All right, 1000 CE. What do we got going on? Well, we got some minting going on. Copper coins were being produced to help the currency, to help the exchange of goods. Of course, they still had the Silk Road, and the Silk Road was still going strong. Of course, that was the disadvantage for the Tang dynasty because with the Silk Road, which led to the west for trade and brought good things back to China, it also made a way for invaders to come too. So, there's your downside to that. But hey, we are in the Song dynasty. We're not going to worry about that. That is history. Let's look at the 1200 CE. Not good times for the Chinese people. Genghis Khan, tribes from Mongolia, came on down and kind of not good. Eliminated a lot of people, and a lot of people died. It wasn't good. And so he took over. So the Song dynasty collapsed and fell. And curious and quite interestingly enough, his grandson, Kublai Khan, took over as the ruler of this area and started the Yan dynasty, which is the first and only Mongolian dynasty in China. Okay. During this time, also, I'm sure you've probably heard of Marco Polo. Marco. Okay, if you've ever been in a swimming pool in the summer, you probably played that game. And, well, this is why you have that game. Thank you, Marco Polo, who was an explorer from Europe, who at a young age of just 17, came across the Silk Road and came to China and was able to see this new area, see this new culture, this new land. And at the same time was able to get, jade, porcelain, and silk. 13 CE, we are jumping. The Ming defeated the Mongol conqueror. So the Ming dynasty came in 1368 and pushed the Mongols out, and Chinese military and political authority returned to the land of China during this time. 1400s. We got lots of things going on here. So I'm just going to pause for just a moment. We have Zhen the explorer. He took hundreds and thousands of people with him, cooks and craftsmen and traders and merchants and all kinds of people, set sail on hundreds of ships and set out to sea. And as you can see, they visited places like India and up to up Arabia, up in like the Red Sea there. They went to Africa. Now, how did this happen? Because traditionally, at this point in history, sailing was only along the coast. You wouldn't want to get out to sea because then you'd lose your way and you'd have no way to find and get back home. However, let's jump back 700 years to the invention of the clock. Also, during that time, there was the invention of the magnetic compass. And so all of those inventions, and don't forget the rudder, the post controlled rudder. So all of that helped make China help give China the ability to go out to sea. All right. And so get away from the coast, go out to open sea using the stars, using charts in the stars, using time, the clock, the distance they've traveled away from China, and using the compass. They were able to navigate their way as far as Africa in open sea. All right. During this time, 1407, we had the construction of the Forbidden City. Okay, we had the emperor begin in 1407, and it took 13 years to construct. And here you have the Forbidden City as well. 1600s, we're moving along here. The Ming Dynasty finally comes to an end. The Hongjin begins. The Qin Dynasty, and that lasted for 300 years until 1911, which then all dynasties came to an end, and you have what we have modern day China. So, hey, have a great time. Remember, stay safe, wear those masks, and we'll see you later.